Shalom everyone, and nearly Shabbat Shalom. Today is Friday. It's the second day of the Hebrew month of Nisan, and today is also March the 24th, 2023. And this coming Shabbat we will be starting a new book. We will be reading the first portion of the Book of Leviticus. And it's, in actual fact, I find it that when people begin to talk about Leviticus, or when people hear about Leviticus, they would somehow, roll their eyes and think, how relevant can this be? All things about sacrifices and Levites and priests and the altar and all sorts of restrictions and types of sacrifices. What relevance does it really have, and will it have relevance in our life as well? All these questions bring the Book of Leviticus to be not exactly the most popular book out of the first 5 books of the Bible. And in actual fact, now when we read the book of Leviticus, we can actually see that there are a lot of symbolisms there. There are all kinds of symbolisms in terms of the types of sacrifices one must bring. You could bring sacrifices from the livestock, from herd, from vegetation, from birds. There are all sorts of reasons to bring sacrifices, and so there is a way to study the book of Leviticus on a technical level of the different sacrifices and everything, but there is another way of reading this book and thinking about the symbolism. What does it mean to bring a sacrifice from the livestock? What does it mean to bring a sacrifice from birds or from vegetation? What does it do? How is it related to the type of sacrifices, to the reason for which I am actually bringing a sacrifice? That sort of teaching is still very relevant because it determines the way we stand before our Creator. The need to bring a sacrifice is not just when there is a temple. It's not just when you have an altar and a priest to receive it. Yes, in a physical level, but in a spiritual level, sacrifices are always being given when you walk with God. There is always a sacrifice involved, and one must always think about the type of sacrifice and the type of calling that he or she is dealing with, and needs to answer back to that calling. I think one of the most interesting things about Leviticus, when we think about the tabernacle and later the temple, it's really the singing of the Levites. The Levites used to sing, as we can see it in the Psalms as well. They used to sing various songs to people who came with various types of sacrifices. So when a person came with a sacrifice of thanksgiving, the Levites used to sing a song which with the words, of course, and the melody had a spiritual ability to open something inside that person's heart and really prepare him for that offering of thanksgiving. If a person brought a sin offering, they would sing something that would trigger his spirit to be in that place of asking for forgiveness from its maker, and just before offering up that sacrifice. And I think when we think about it like that, when we think about all the symbolism, when we think about spiritual abilities being opened and developed when a person came with a sacrifice, I think with this kind of reading we get a whole new flavor and texture and color to the book of Leviticus. And of course we all pray that the book of Leviticus will come to be relevant and actual, and even in the physical level. But until that happens, and until we have a temple, until we have a place to worship God the way He asked us to worship Him initially, we can all hold on to Leviticus on a spiritual level, which will give us a lot of teachings and light in terms of our relationship with God. Shabbat Shalom to you all.